Good evening and welcome to a new edition of A Daily Debate. This evening we'll be debating the Egyptian government's program. The parliament voted majority, 433 parliamentarians to be specific, approved the Egyptian government's program, which will be under discussion in a few moments with the distinguished gentleman. What is in stake for this in this program? How shall we progress? And are we on the right track? Will be discussed in a few moments. But before we do so, we had high-level visit earlier this day. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry paid a quick visit to Egypt. During the visit, he met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. The visit initials a number of issues pertaining to bilateral ties and regional issues. With us on the phone is His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, to shed light on this issue. Your Excellency, can you hear us?
How are you? Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir. Can you tell us, the Kerry visit was quite brief, a real quick one, before he heads off to Riyadh to join Barack Obama. Can you tell us what was the purpose of that visit?
Yes, it is a little bit amazing that the president is in Riyadh and the foreign minister is in Cairo. This means that he is here, to my opinion, just to confirm things before talking about it with the Saudis in Riyadh. So it is quick because there is, in my opinion, one single question: what are you going to do with this or that? Are you ready to join us if we propose this or that in the Riyadh meeting?
Yes.
Then he joined immediately his president. But this is a good sign because we received lately the Germans, the French, the Saudis, and so on. It seems that nobody can enter in the Middle East and do something useful unless he visits Cairo as soon as possible. And I think we have a very big homework to face this situation because Egypt is coming back in the front of the international politics, and I think we are able to do that. This is how I see the whole scene today.
Your Excellency, it's a fact that tensions, the relations right now are somewhat tense between Riyadh and Washington, especially as the U.S. Congress plans or aims to vote or to connect Saudi Arabia to the 9/11 incident, and this is not reflecting well with the Saudi regime. Do you think the visit could have touched on that issue?
Absolutely. I think that among many other issues, there are two very important issues to be discussed in Riyadh, and it was discussed this morning, in my opinion, in Cairo. One is the agreement between the United States and Iran, that Iran now is free to do whatever they want concerning the reserves of money, reserves of oil.
Yes.
Then Iran is by itself in the Gulf, and the relation with the Saudis is in good health. The second question is what you have already mentioned, that there is a tendency to approve a bill in the Congress pointing at the Saudis as responsible to the 9/11 disaster. This is not healthy at all for the American-Saudi relations. And one big purpose of the visit is situation about this and about the Iranian question. And I am satisfied that we have some news that President Obama promised if the Congress passes a bill, he will veto it immediately, because this is disastrous, really. So let us wait. Also, he will tell the GCC forum about the relation with the United States and how we can build up a front among the Middle East and the Arab world against terrorism. This is one big issue there. Also, I do not ignore the economic relations. Don't ignore that the Saudis have the second largest reserve in dollar in the world, and this makes some effort and some impact on the American move in the economic dimension also.
Before we wrap up, Your Excellency, do you think that Obama will stand up to Parliament, to Congress? What I mean by stand up to them, let us not forget that the United States is bracing itself for its upcoming elections, and even though Obama is not running for the elections as he has finished his term, yet he definitely does not want to compromise the chances of his party. Will he?
Yes, but the good news here that he is not running for a third session for president.
He is not running, but he can risk his party's chances of being re-elected again.
I don't think so. I don't think so, by the way.
Just a question.
Hillary Clinton succeeded to split herself from him since some time. So I think this is serious. This is serious. And the good element here, that the president doesn't need voting again about him. One good bad news that what Mr. Netanyahu declared, that he is not going to leave the Golan Heights.
Yes.
This is very bad declaration, and it's very good for the visit, because Obama has to explain to us what is the American position, and I think they already...
They issued a statement not approving this, the Netanyahu position.
Exactly. This is good because it fits a statement by our foreign ministry spokesman, and here I think that the American president, I must confess, is behaving during the visit in such a way. I am not angry with it.
Can I ask you a question, sir? Why is it that we always see a change in the policies of the American president, regardless of who he is, when it comes to the end of his term? Usually his policies towards the end are more pro-Middle East. Why?
Because we have a very fair file, by the way. I tell you, as an old diplomat, I have never seen an American friend, even ambassadors, even ministers, and if you talk to him without microphones, he will confess that we are right. So take any president near, you rightly said, he will come to reason, because he at least he wants to satisfy himself that he something to help the situation.
Yes.
I tell you, one high official ambassador of America, a colleague of mine, I was trying to convince him here and there, and he said, Gamal, you do not need to convince me. Every individual with good knowledge of the situation knows that you are right, but politics is not like that. Politics is not right. Might is right, it seems so.
But it comes right towards the end of the term, it seems.
It comes so. It comes so.
Your Excellency, a pleasure as always to hear from you, and thank you for your fruitful input. In a few moments, we'll be starting this evening's debate. The Egyptian Parliament approved the Egyptian government's program right after this, so please stay with us.
An overwhelming majority of the Egyptian parliamentarians voted today in favor of giving confidence to Prime Minister Sharif Ismail's cabinet. MP Haitham al-Hariri said in his official Twitter account that 433 MPs voted in favor of the cabinet, while 38 voted against and 5 abstained. Ismail presented in March the policy statement of his cabinet in a 205-page report, stressing that Egypt still faces great dangers that pose a threat to its national security, coming not only from countries around them like Libya, Palestine, Sudan, Iraq, Syria and Yemen, but also from within in the form of terrorist attacks and extremist thoughts. According to Article 146 of the Constitution, the government's policy statement must gain a vote of confidence in Parliament. Ismail stated Sunday that Egypt is in a 205-page policy statement. He said, "We are facing a battle of life and death, and we have to change our style of thinking in order to move forward and reclaim Egypt's leading role." adding that the status quo is indefensible and that they cannot go back to previous conditions, that everyone have to live up to expectations to all Egyptians. Ismail said Egypt still faces great dangers that pose a threat to the national security, coming not only from the countries around them like Libya, Palestine, Sudan, Iraq, Syria and Yemen, but also from within in the form of extremists. Ismail also reminded MPs that in Egypt has one of the highest rates of population growth, saying that from 77 million in 2009-2010, they went up to 90 million in December 2015, with an annual runaway growth of population at 2.6%, of 8 times more than a country like South Korea and 4 times more than a country like China. Worse, added Ismail, that the unemployment rate increased from 9% in 2009-2010 to 13.3% in 2015-2016, with this problem most severe among young people ranging from the age of 15 to 29. Ismail also indicated that Egypt has experienced an alarming deterioration in public services since 2011, saying that there was not money in investment to improve these services. With high runaway growth in population, Egypt has one of the slowest rates of economic growth in the last 5 years, while the population is increasing by more than 2.5 million each year. Economic growth slowed to 4.2%. Ismail attributed the economic slowdown to a severe decline in sovereign revenues coming from national sources like the Suez Canal and tourism. On the other hand, he said spending on defense services was dramatically increased to meet the needs of Egypt's national security challenges. Ismail explained that the rate of inflation has soared to 10 to 12%, negatively affecting the lives of poor and limited income citizens who spend most of their money on food. Meanwhile, Ismail said the budget deficit hit 11.5% of GDP in 2014-2015. The Premier also indicated that the foreign debt rose from $33.7 billion in June 2010 to $48.291 billion at the end of January 2016. Continuing his bleak assessment of the state of the national economy, Sharif referred to the negative impact of the Russian airliner crash in Sinai last October, saying that it led to severe declines in the country's foreign exchange revenues. Tourism revenues declined from $10.6 billion in 2010 to $7.4 billion in 2014. Worse, Ismail said, the bill of commodity imports surged to $61 billion in 2014-2015, while exports markedly dropped from $27 billion in 2010 to $22 billion in 2014. Ismail also lamented low competitiveness of the Egyptian economy and the negative impact of the international economic slowdown on the country. In order to counter these negative developments and get the country out of its economic crisis, the government has developed a 2-year economic reform program focused on several points, including safeguarding national security, reinforcing democratic infrastructure, implementing an economic reform program, achieving social justice, and improving infrastructure and sectorial development. The program also entails administrative reform in terms of securing greater transparency and fighting corruption and enhancing Egypt's role in the Arab, African, and international spheres.